What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Bourbon Battalion on YouTube. Today, we've got a Weeders War blind tasting that we're going to do with 4 different weeders. Make sure you smash that subscribe button so you can follow along for more content like this. Alright, on today's blind, we've got the Weeder Wars. I just picked up this Old Fitz 7-year bottled in bond today, as well as this Maker's Mark 2026 wood finishing series, the Stewards Release. They're going to be going up against the 2024 wood finishing series release, the Heart Release from Maker's Mark, which I loved. And then we have one of my favorite weeders, the Weller Full Proof. The proofs are going to range here from 100 proof up to about 114 proof. So we're kind of in the same general ballpark, but there is a little bit of variance. Not gonna lie, I only bought this because I wanted the bag. I don't really have much hopes for it as far as whether I think I'm going to like it or not. So in a blind, let's see how it stacks up against these two that I love. All right, I got my whiskey solo blind. I've got my pours poured up. They've been sitting for a little bit, about probably 15-20 minutes. Gave this a couple spins, and let's get this started. All right, I'm going to be starting from my right and working to my left. Starting off with glass number 1. Not overly complex on the nose. There's some honey, maybe like a little bit of fruity notes. There's like some slight vanilla, but the nose isn't overly complex, but smells like a weeder. Yeah, the nose isn't bad. It just doesn't really stand out to me. Moving on to number 2. I would say number 2 is a little bit more complex. Not a whole lot. I will say the difference between number 1 and number 2 on the nose is on number 2, I do get some like fruity notes, but then I get almost like a chocolatey note, a little bit of caramel. There's some vanilla. The nose is better on number 2 than it is number 1. I am going to use a sheet here just to kind of keep track of my thoughts for each. Let's move on to number 3 here on the nose. That is very different from the first 2. Wow. I would say the nose on number 3 is a little bit more brighter than the first 2. It is more bold. I would say the nose has a little bit of citrus. There's some fruity notes, some honey, cinnamon, vanilla. I like the nose on number 3 quite a bit. Moving on to number 4. Oh wow, that is the most unique. Wow. Number 4 on the nose to me has a whole lot of bready notes. There's a whole lot of wheat. There's some like a little bit of graininess, but I do get some vanilla, a little bit of citrus, and I'm almost getting some herbal notes on it as well. Let's go through these here again real quick just to be sure. Number 4 is very interesting on the nose. Wow. Number 3 is hands down better than number 4 on the nose. That is great on the nose. After round 2 of nosing these, I feel the same way as I felt after going through it the first time. So the best nose for me was number 3. Number 3 was absolutely fantastic on the nose. Number 2 was not far behind number 3, but it wasn't nearly as bold and complex as number 3 was. Number 1 was after number 2, so that is going to come in third place on the nose. It just wasn't quite as complex, not quite as bold as number 2, so that's going to go at 3. Number 4 is going to be fourth place on the nose. There is a big gap between these 3 and this one here. So let's take a sip. Starting off with number 1. That tastes like there's some proof behind it. So based on the little bit of proofiness that I'm getting up front, I would venture to guess it's not the Old Fitz. I am getting a lot of chocolate on the palate with this. Chocolate, cinnamon, nutmeg. You get those baking spices. Wow, the palate is really nice on that. I really like that. I'm gonna cleanse my palate here. Let's move on to glass number 2. Wow, that is very different from number 1. Number 1 had a big punch up front. As I said, I got some like proofiness to it. Number 2 was very approachable from the start, and I got like those baking spices and chocolate immediately on number 1. But on number 2, I get like a whole lot of vanilla up front. There's almost like a little bit of creme brulee. I'm getting like a little bit of like orange zest in a sense. There's some cinnamon in there as well. Big difference between the two as far as the palate. Let's move on to number 3. Wow, very interesting. Number 3 on the front end is a blast of baking spice. Cinnamon, nutmeg, a little bit of like allspice in a sense. Then there's some vanilla that kind of rides like mid-palate. I get a little bit of caramel. I will say the mid-palate and the finish on number 3 really pick up. The front of the palate was okay, but mid-palate finish is fantastic on number 3. Moving on to glass number 4. Wow. Glass number 4, between the nose and the palate, that's fourth place to me. The nose wasn't overly complex. There wasn't a whole lot going on. The palate is just kind of dull compared to these 3. There's like some vanilla. There's a little bit of cinnamon, but there's not a whole lot of complexity to it. Even through the finish, like I'm not getting a whole lot through the finish. I would say there's a lot of vanilla and maybe some honey on the finish, but yeah, I feel very confident that number 4 can go in fourth place. Just to be sure, I am going to take one more sip of it because I want to be as thorough as I possibly can. But that first sip was very underwhelming, and the nose was very underwhelming as well. Yeah, that's comfortably number 4. If number 4 is not the Old Fitz Bottled in Bond, I will be very disappointed. Just because, out of my expectations, I expected that one to come in fourth place. So if it's not that, I'll be surprised. Go back for round 2, taking a sip here. We are going to start with number 3. So much more flavorful than number 4. Man, that is a big step up from this to these 3. Man, that is delicious. Whew, that's a tough one. Cleanse my palate here and go in for number 2. Absolutely delicious. There's that cinnamon, vanilla, honey, baking spice goodness. Very, very good. These 2 are absolutely exceptional. Going back to number 1. Interesting. I feel, wow, it's very interesting, right? And I love blinds. Obviously, in this blind, I know what's in the blind. I know we have 2 Makers products. We have a Buffalo Trace Weller product, and we have a Heaven Hill Old Fitz. So I know what's in the blind. I know the theme of the blind, but I don't know exactly which one is which. So it's very easy to get label bias, right? So I love Weller. I'm a big fan of Weller. If I can get them around MSRP, I'm always going to. But is that my label bias? Is it not? I've blinded the Weller Antique 107 with the Bardstown High Wheat twice now. One time the Bardstown came out on top. The other time the Weller came out on top. So again, a lot of this is really going to vary from day to day, right? So the blind, again, is the best way to kind of eliminate that bias. Another thing that I want to note, and I'm kind of rambling here for a second because I'm just giving my palate a second. Early on in my bourbon journey, I was a huge wheater fan. And I don't know if that's necessarily unusual for somebody into the bourbon world because wheaters, they tend to be softer, a little bit more palatable, a little bit more approachable. Versus, you know, high rye bourbons or ryes in general, they're just going to be a lot more approachable. So as time's gone on, I still really like a good wheater. That Bardstown High Wheat is exceptional for the price. You know, I do like some of these limited release Maker's Mark products. I like, you know, the Weller lineup. So I do enjoy wheaters, but I feel like my palate's kind of evolved or changed, and now I definitely appreciate, I am a big lover of ryes. I love ryes. I like high rye bourbons. So, you know, my palate's kind of evolved. So I've rambled for a little bit, let my palate kind of sit for a minute, and now we're going to revisit these and try to differentiate between these 3. All right, this time I'll start with number 2. That is so, and I hate to use this term, but that is so smooth. Very, very smooth, very approachable, very palatable. There is like a whole lot of vanilla cream type notes. There's some citrus, almost like a creamsicle in a way. Baking spices, very, very sweet, very, very approachable. Going to number 3. Going to number 1. Number 1 is so much different than the other 3, but especially these 2. And I am just trying to determine which way I kind of lean because I really enjoy both of these. I really enjoy that one. Wow. That is tough. Man. All right, let's go in for number 3. This is really tough between these 3. I will say the palate on number 3 would come in 3rd place for me. And I feel like the finish would come in 3rd place for me as well. I'll be honest, I've had a really, really tough time with this one. I've gone back and forth a couple times. I've really gone beyond the 3 sips that you kind of saw here. But I can confidently say number 3 is going to come in third place. So now we're down to 1 and 2. We are going to take one final sip of number 1 and number 2. I will give these a rating from 0 to 10 and determine our winner. I will say the nose has gotten better on 1 as it's sat here. Man, that complexity up front, that burst of flavor up front, I don't get a lot on wheaters, and I really like it. All things considered, I think a 7.6 is appropriate for number 1. Going in to score number 2. That nose is great. Oh, man. These are both... Oh, man, these are both fantastic. A whole lot more complexity on this one. I will say there's a lot more sweetness on this one. This one is super sweet. A lot of vanilla, caramel, like confectioner's sugar. Very, very sweet. But there's some depth to that sweetness. This one has depth, but it's depth between some darker notes, some like herbal notes almost in a sense, and the baking spices, the vanillas. I'm going to give this one a 7.5. It is freaking close. So that means we have our results. So starting off with number 4. Number 4 is going to be unsurprisingly, number 4 is going to be the Old Fitz 7-year-old bottled in bond. This was a very big step below the other 3. So the Old Fitz 7-year bottled in bond, clearly our 4th place finisher. Coming in 3rd place, our 3rd place finisher is going to be, I really need to get another freaking dog tag for my whiskey solo blind because this is a pain in the ass. Coming in 3rd place, our 3rd place, holy crap, I am surprised. 3rd place is going to be the Maker's Mark Heart Series Release. I freaking love this bottle when it came out in 2024, and I just absolutely love this. I heard a lot of people saying that this year's Wood Finishing Series release, the Stewards Release, was not nearly as good as this one. So I kind of assumed I was going to lean that direction, but again, blinds don't lie, right? So I went in thinking this would score better than the Stewards Release, never having the Stewards Release before, but I thought this would come in higher. So the blind proved otherwise. So that means coming in at 2nd place is going to be, come on, lordy lordy. Number 2, our 2nd place finisher is the Weller Full Proof. Weller Full Proof coming in at 2nd place in our Wheater Wars blind using the Whiskey Solo blind. Again, label bias does exist, brand bias exists. So I would have thought the Weller would have won, but in this blind, the Maker's Mark 2026 Stewards Release won the Wheater Wars. This is not to say this is my favorite wheater, just in this blind, this one came out on top. I figured this was a fun way to crack open 2 new bottles and compare them to other bottles that I really, really liked. So this was a really fun video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you're still watching, please smash that subscribe button. I've got a lot of really cool things planned. I will say, after reading both of these bottles, it is not a surprise to me that I picked the Stewards Release. The reason I say that is, if you look at the heart release, and I don't know if you can see that, it says that this was finished in 10 French oak staves. I like French oak. That is not to say that I do not like French oak. But anybody that follows me, especially those of you that have followed me on TikTok, Instagram, or you're in my Discord, you know how much I absolutely freaking love toasted oak barrels. So the Stewards Release was finished in 10 toasted American oak staves. So I didn't even know that going into this. I didn't read the label. I wanted to eliminate as much bias as possible. In that case, my bias wasn't totally off because I love toasted bourbons. I love toasted ryes. There's just something about a toasted finish that just, I just freaking love it. This hybrid fresh crack solo blind Weeder Wars was really, really fun for me. And I hope you enjoyed it nearly as much as I did. If you're still watching, smash that subscribe button. Please leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about the results of this. Let me know, have you had these bottles? If so, how would you rank them? Like this video and share this video with a friend. Cheers.